Hockey's back, baby. Let's go.
I think that's the goal there, to be honest. That hockey was phenomenal. All right, Phil Kessel is a Stanley Cup champion once again. I mean, hey, Bruce, there it is. Bruce, there it was. At least it wasn't Adam Fox.
It's two juggernauts just colliding with each other. What?
Weird.
Now we have to deal with another generational talent in Chicago. Root. Welcome back to the Puck and Stuff podcast. I am B-Dog, as always. Right beside me is my boy T-Dog. What's going on, T-Dog? How we doing today? It's been a while.
Good, man. It has been a while. We're coming back with not these circumstances we'd like. I'm excited to get back into it, though. It seems like it's been a good summer, man. I haven't seen you much. I've been so busy with everything, but hey, we're back at it. Happy fall, everyone.
Yeah, happy September, guys. We were very quiet during August because, again, hockey kind of slowed down a bit. A lot of other sports and a lot of things happen in our lives. But now we are back for September. We're just about a month away from hockey, boys. Thank you for everything you guys have done for this channel so far. But today, we're back. And sadly, we do have to start off with some devastating news that's happened the other day, that we found out Matthew and Johnny Gaudreau were sadly killed in a drunk driving accident in Philadelphia a few days before a wedding. And it took the hockey world by storm. And T-Dog and I just wanted to mention a few words that we can't believe that this would happen, and we never expected it. And Johnny Gaudreau we did have some problems with him at first when he went to Columbus, but in a situation like this, you push that aside and you just feel bad for the whole situation that's come to. And rest in peace to both Matthew and Gaudreau, both legends in their own right of the game of hockey. And Johnny Gaudreau was a legend to Calgary in his own way. And it's heartbreaking. It really is heartbreaking.
Yeah, condolences to the family. That's something that you don't ever want anyone to go through. Now the wives are, left as widows, man, and kids without the fathers. So that's something you do. Such is life, right? Such is life. I mean, these tragedies happen. It's cool seeing how the hockey community has, kind of come together and paid their respects in very professional manners, I'd say. Like at the Dome, there is kind of I don't know what you call it. Like
I call it a memorial, I would say. Yeah. Right
flowers.
in front of the Saddle Dome stairs, right in front of them. Yeah, I'll show photos of that. But honestly, good for the city of Calgary to honor him in that way, because I think he did such a big thing for the community in Calgary. So yeah, that was very nice of him.
Columbus did that too, and I just feel for the family, because the whole family's so close, and this happens right before like their sister's wedding, and the whole thing is just a terrible tragedy. But I guess let's talk about the positive aspect of their life while they were here. So growing up, right? I mean, I've watched the Flames pretty standard now. I want to say since grade 7 or 8. So that's 12 years for us, 13 years. Me
pushing 15, yeah.
Like I was a fan before, but you're at an age where you don't really follow it, and then you get to a point where you kind of have your interests and stuff. And you know what? So that was probably the first season I really, really followed the Flames. Would have been the year before the 14-15 season. So that's what makes me realize is 14, like that team prior, like passed on, so like I grew up with that team. And so, of course, Gaudreau being such a big part of that. And of course, I'm a smaller guy, so for me, like I always rooted for Gaudreau because of that, and just how he was able to kind of like take such a charge on the ice with that much skill and talent. So many memories. So that's something to think about. But a lot of great memories, and you can never forget that Game 7 goal and all that. And it just seems as well, like, just not even hockey aside, right? And, real life, like, seems a person, like, seems like a great father, a good friend, a good family member, a good person in general. So you hate to see that.
Yeah, I can definitely feel that, because obviously you and I were getting into hockey and watching the Flames more and more the older we got, because you started around grade 7, correct? So I was in the same kind of space of watching hockey because we were just exiting the Mika Kipasov, Jerome McGinley saga, and the team was going through a hard rebuild. We saw Bennett get drafted, then we saw Sean Monahan get drafted, but then we saw this Gaudreau guy come into the 4th round, and we didn't know anything about him, but we knew he was a small player and he could become something, could not. But you're right, during that 2014-15 season, really saw what Johnny Gaudreau could do on the ice, and it was spectacular to watch for a fan dealing with his first rebuild and seeing a spectacular player come out of the 4th round like that. So I think, yeah, you're right. He affected the culture in Calgary in such a positive way that he did that all the years he was there. And like you said, 2021, 2022, the playoff OT winner by him made him a superstar here. And it's so sad to see a guy like that go. And I'm going to get emotional if I keep going. So I'm going to end it off with thank you so much for everything you've done. And I hope you rest in peace. You know what? Kind of switching topics here to get a little bit out of the emotion and back into the hockey sense of it. We do start off with some signings because last time we did talk, we did mention what happened in the first few days of free agency. Then we took a break, and now a lot more has happened that we haven't talked about, which is some pretty big stuff. So we'll start off with signings. And the first extension that happened was Quinn Byfield from the LA Kings getting extended for 5 years at $6.25 million per year. That is just over $31 million for 5 years. T-Dog, I would like to hear your thoughts on this first signing from LA.
I'm excited to see him this season. I think he could take an even bigger step. And imagine, this is very very wishful. But man, if he becomes the player that was projected to be in this draft, that 6.25 is a steal, man. It's a steal.
Yeah,
good for LA to get him on a pretty team-friendly deal there. I'm just excited to see how he's going to kind of perform. Really,
yeah.
I think it's going to be such a value contract because I think seeing how he played against Edmonton in the playoffs in the latter half of the season, that you are starting to see a player that is maturing correctly. And you know what? LA, if they can keep having players like that, just kind of mature at the correct time, right? Then LA is going to be in a good spot. So yeah, it's a good signing.
Yeah, I would definitely say so because, well, when you look at what Quinn Byfield kind of started off with as a second overall pick in the draft he was in, he had that high expectation of a 70, 80 point player. And his first 2 seasons in the league, he didn't do that much with only 10 points in his first season in 40 games. And then in 50 games, he only put up 22. So a lot of people were judging him to be a bust, kind of like how we took it with Alexis Lafreniere with the Rangers, correct? So
Yep.
He kind of had that vibe of a bust, but he goes into this season with 80 games played, so the most games he's played all year in his 3 seasons with LA. He puts up 55 points with a plus-minus 19. So now you start to see that kind of development coming in, and he's starting to have a little bit of a good season. So yeah, this is definitely a steal of a contract. I think he will progress to a 70-point player at most. I wouldn't be surprised if he breaks the 80 or 90 point mark in his prime, but this is a good signing by LA. Out of all the signings they've recently done, and this is the right one in my opinion.
100%. Next one, Artur Shilovs of the Vancouver Canucks re-signs at a 2-year deal at $850K. Okay. We gotta talk about Vancouver and their goalie situation. It's not very good.
Oh boy.
So, here's what has been going around on Twitter and all of the social media is, 1, Thatcher Demko himself might not be able to start. Not just November. He might not be able to come back till about March, springtime this next season. This is not a good sign at all. Might even be that he might not even be able to play this season. I don't know what's going on right now with that, but his injury is much worse. And I can't help but think, what game was it in the playoffs? I remember watching him tweak something.
Oh,
in Nashville.
I think it was his first game back in
I can't
Nashville.
remember.
It was his first game back, game 2.
I remember seeing a tweak, and I'm like, oh. And I watched him like that looked like a little tweak. Like,
That looked painful, what he did.
yeah, yeah, it's crazy. Shilov's, wow, what a playoff performance. You know, as a overall goalie, you won't be able to get a good understanding of what he is until, you know, he actually gets to play a season.
Yeah.
But I think what it's looking like is, yeah, he could be a starter. But here's the kicker. You ready for more? He got an inflamed knee, so he might not even be ready for training camp. So
No.
Vancouver's looking for goalies, is what I'm saying here. So if any of you beer league goalies out there, you can write a nice resume to Francesco Aquilini. Yeah, maybe you can get a little tryout there. So Jack Drury re-signs with the Carolina Hurricanes, 2 years at a 1.725 per year. Depth center there, left shot, 30 points last season, 27 points, 8 goals, 19 assists. At least they could sign him because they were able to sign a few of their players.
No.
Right now, it looks like this team on the forward side is a little lacking in depth. What do you think about that? I mean, it seems like some teams do better when their team doesn't, on paper, isn't as deep as they were previously. But I guess you don't know until the season.
Well, I definitely think we noticed since the last episode that Carolina did lose some key pieces here, especially when you talk defensive-wise with Brett Pesce and then you talk about Brady Shea. Offensive-wise, it was good to pick up Jack Drury. He's 24 years old. He finally had a good 80-game played season, putting up 27, almost 30 points. Not bad for your first true season with the team. I bet, especially down the line, depth like him will help for sure. But if we're also adding, if I could also kind of switch it to more signings involving Carolina, we did find out that Martin Necas did re-sign with the team for $6.50 million for 2 years. So they keep Martin Necas on the wing. So that's a good sign. They also keep Seth Jarvis for 8 years at 7.9. So just under 8 mil for the next 8 years. So you could definitely say that they did tie up both ends with Necas and Jarvis. So that definitely helps with big key pieces on the wingers to change that. So I would like to hear thoughts on those two signings for sure. Because honestly, I think they're pretty good signings for what the players can do.
They're good value signings. The only problem, I think, is you have... Well, Jarvis got that 8 year. Necas got 2.
Yeah.
It's probably because, Necas was on like the trading discussion boards there.
Oh, he's been there for months.
But the biggest thing is I think it's just cap. I think it's cap, right? Like, what do you do when those 2 years are up? They're tight on the cap there, and that's what's kind of screwing them over. You're going to see here that a few teams are getting kind of antsy a little bit with how they're signing and stuff and who they're signing because of the lack of that. And so Carolina is one of those teams that is kind of dealing with it. But I think, right, your top 6 or your top 6 right wingers right there, boom, sign them on great deals too. I think that Jarvis, I mean, these top 2 right wings, you're paying them under 8 mil both, so like per season.
Yeah,
it's pretty solid. So I'll take it.
Well, I think now Carolina's realizing since the last 2 to 3 seasons they've been cup contenders and they haven't been able to make it to the promised land yet. So now they're especially a team now where you're looking at them and they're going to be in cap hell pretty quick. And the goal is to win a cup. So they are expecting this team to win them a cup soon before things get worse and worse. Because if you don't win a cup in 2 years and Martin Necas probably leaves, that's a guy you don't want to lose that can help you to bring you to that cup. So they're definitely getting concerning. Carolina's definitely getting concerning to get into cap hell. But I guess we'll see what happens.
$80,000 left.
Yeah, so
they might need a student loan.
Hey,
something like that. No interest till next year or something.
You're going on long-term injury for a while there.
yeah, cap circumvention. Yeah, I feel like a few of these teams that we're talking about are going to pull some sneaky stuff here next season. Because, hey, they're all doing it. Hey, the kids are doing it. Why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, next guy, Joe Veleno re-signs with the Detroit Red Wings, 2 years at $2.275 million per season. We talk about another depth guy. Last season, 28 points, 12 goals, 16 assists. I think it's a pretty decent signing. I think with the Yzer plan, it's keep the team pretty much the same here, not moving too many people out. If you're a Red Wings fan here, B-Dog, are you getting a little antsy about this whole Yzer plan? Because I remember last season, this time, talking about it and thinking it's finally going to come to fruition eventually. We're kind of comparing it with Ottawa, but we've been doing this for 2 seasons, and it feels like they're just stagnant.
Yeah.
Like, how'd you feel, man? Like, it's tough.
Well, I definitely say that this Joe contract is a little bit much, in my opinion, because in the last 2 seasons, he's only been able to reach 20 points, and he's played 80, 81 games in the last 2 seasons. So is it a little bit of a reach and pay? Yeah, a little bit. I think this is a big prove it year for him to maybe get up the 40 to 50 points. But yeah, if you're Detroit in general, I think you are getting kind of concerned. But you're seeing positive movements at the same time, because look what they did last year. They got their whole fan base hyped because of how close they were to a playoff spot, and they were just a few points out by Washington. So that gives them hope. And I think the other thing that's concerning them too is the fact that Lucas Raymond hasn't been signed yet and Seider hasn't been signed yet. So that's
That's
probably
great.
what concerns me the most right now with this team. But this team could potentially make it. I think this is the closest they've ever been in the last few years. I'm still going to trust in their Yzerman plan.
Next guy, let's talk about some depth players here. What a good signing here, Daniel Sprong. Daniel Sprong signs a 1-year deal, $975K, under a mil with Vancouver. Vancouver, what I think they succeeded with, one thing that they did last season was signing decent depth pieces for good value, but value to a point where they contribute to where they need to be, and it all meshes together to create something. I think Sprong is a part of it. I think Sprong has a scoring ability. He does.
Yeah.
So it's potentially something that can happen.
True.
So we'll see. I think it's a good one.
Yeah, I would definitely say 100% true. I thought this was a great signing by Vancouver to bring on Sprong, because in the last 2 seasons, he was with Seattle in the 2022-2023 season, put up 46 points, career high year with 21 goals. And I was kind of shocked Seattle didn't sign him after that. So he goes to Detroit, and last season he played 76 games. He put up 43 points with 18 goals. And based off what he got from Vancouver, I was kind of shocked that Detroit didn't want to take him. Maybe Sprong gave Detroit a number that they couldn't work with because they still have to sign Raymond and Seider. So maybe they let him in the free agency and he couldn't get what he wanted. So he got a deal just under a mil. And this guy is going into his prime year and could potentially pull a 50-point season out of his butt. So big steal for Vancouver just for a year. And I mean, we signed Mangiapane for $5 million for having 150-point year. So, like, can't say much, but
Yeah.
I think he deserves more money, personally. He's a great player.
You tell me under $1 million, you could potentially get 20 goals on a team that has a lot of offensive ability.
Oh, yeah. I think he could push 50, especially with a team like Vancouver if he's put on the third line, second line.
I love it. Yeah, I think it's a great signing. So good for Vancouver, and at least there's a bit of a W here for Vancouver. Hopefully they figure out that goalie situation. Auston Matthews is now the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs. B-Dog. Wow, that was something. I think Tavares was forced to giving it to him. I mean, he probably wanted to give it to him anyways, but yeah. So I refer to this because you got to get Tavares out of here, man. You can't be paying a guy $10 million to just be up. I don't know. He provides leadership, sure, but he's eating up minutes, man.
I think he's 11, actually. Yeah, it's not 10, it's 11. For I think one more year. One more year.
That's what they say until they sign him again for 12. But you gotta get some of these signings out, and it's like So see what Matthews kind of leads the team to do. Toronto fans, let us know what you think and why our opinions suck.
Yeah, I mean facts, but I think realistically it kind of was just a good because we've never really had a situation where a captain has dropped it down to a younger guy in this sense, but he like actually came out and did it himself, which I respect about John Tavares. And Matthews is the next captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs for the future as we know right now because I mean that kind of gives him hope that he could potentially re-sign once his contract's up with he having the C.
I think so. All jokes aside, even
Yeah,
if Arizona was still a team, I think he'd stay.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
it's his organization. It's what McDavid has with Edmonton.
Exactly.
He could he probably. I mean, he doesn't have McDavid influence on the team,
No,
but he has enough influence that he could probably be like, listen, I need a guy on my wing here. And he
yeah.
like winks at someone who's a free agent because he knows he's buddies with and he practices with in the off season, right?
Well, only if he could do that with defensemen and goalies for that team.
Yeah, 100%.
St. Louis offer sheets. Broberg, the defenseman from Edmonton, and Dylan Holloway from Edmonton, two young prospects that were really kind of had their first good year with Edmonton during the Cup run and showed that they were really good players during the postseason. So Edmonton was dealing with some cap issues, and St. Louis took the made offer sheets to both players, and Edmonton tried, I think, to like clear the cap space to sign them, but sadly enough, it wasn't enough. So Broberg and Holloway both are going to St. Louis now. T-Dog, I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are.
Let's get into that signing. There 2 years for 4.58 a year for Broberg, and Holloway gets a 2 by 2.29. So why is this inflated? Well, one, finals. But there's also potential and a high ceiling for these guys too. So Broberg, here's the thing with Broberg. He didn't have a slot on the team because of how deep Edmonton's decor was for the past 2 seasons. Do I say deep? Yeah, it kind of is. Anyways, Broberg himself, right, was wanting to get some playing time, but he really couldn't. And then, comes in and, played well. I would say played well when he was actually in. So Edmonton fans, I think, are more upset the fact that they couldn't get anything in return. I think the idea was they wanted to trade him for value. Now you can't because of this offer sheet thing. And the thing is right now 4.5 is way too much for Broberg, but I think they're banking on the high ceiling that he has the potential to become not Bouchard. No, not like Bouchard, but has impact in the top four pairings, right? And so I think eventually this will be worth the contract. It'll be a steal, but you got to kind of see how it goes. St. Louis, hey, maybe, right? Like, everybody's different. Holloway, there's offensive ability. There's not really room for Holloway. So I guess what I'm saying is I think Armstrong saw this, how there's not much room for these two players, and took advantage. Yes, they wanted to keep him because you want to keep a team that made the finals.
Yeah.
Game 7, it just makes sense, right? Why not try and run it back?
It looks like they're trying to do a quick retool on the fly here, but as I kind of go back to the Broberg and the Holloway signings, Broberg, I don't hate his I mean I kind of hate his contract. I think it's a little bit overpaid, but at the same time we're kind of in a league where defensemen are kind of overpaid for what they do, but what they do is so critical to the game of hockey, obviously being a defenseman. But I think I like it because he's young, he has that NHL experience, and he showed a lot in that postseason for sure, which probably got him that a little bit of a contract uh, bigger number in contract. That's what I'm trying to get at here. But yeah, I think especially just based on his age, I think they did it anyways, and he did pretty well, I would say, postseason. And then you can also look at Dylan Holloway, and he is a 22-year-old forward with a lot of potential down the line, having some good seasons with Edmonton. And he was a point per game guy in the AHL, so you can tell he's ready for the NHL step. But I mean, this is probably going to hurt Edmonton because those were two key pieces that you can at least have in the young, especially for a youngin team. But Edmonton's ready for the now, a cup contender right now, so I don't think it affects them as much. But it'll hurt down the line knowing that you lost those two guys.
Yeah, 100%. I think Edmonton, like, they'll be fine without it, but still, right? Like, you don't want to lose assets that actually had impact.
No.
Especially when it mattered the most, because there are some players on that team are not putting an impact on the team when it does matter the most. So
Exactly.
that's how it is. Hey, that's the offseason, though. It makes it a little more exciting, and glad it happened to the Oilers.
Exactly.
All right, next signing, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. So UPL re-signs a 5-year deal at 4.75 a year. I think Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen has a lot of potential. Buffalo is a team with a lot of potential, and it just seems like they're there, but they're not there. But they're not there. Are they there? Are they? Are they? But they're not. Are they? I
Are
don't
you going to
know. Let me
predict that
know
they
in the
make
comments.
playoffs again?
So we'll see. They'll never make playoffs again, bro. Hey man, if they make playoffs this year, bro, I'm becoming a millionaire. It's just, you know what I mean? Like it's just we'll see. We'll see. It might happen. Not, but what might happen? Wait, hold on. So, Buffalo, or sorry, UPL got a 910 this year on the save percentage and a 2.57 goals against. Pretty solid. And I like to think, too, like good numbers, especially on a team that I think they kind of left them out to dry some games. And I remember going to that Oilers game, and they played the Sabres and they smoked them. Poor UPL, bro. There was just no defense support, bro. Like, there's just no defense support. So, yeah. He to me is a key piece to Buffalo getting out of the slump. I think if he has a great season and if the actual players on the ice, kind of pick up the slack consistently for an entire year, have a good start to the season. If they have a good start to the season and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is an absolute beast, they could slip in and get a 7th spot.
Sure.
I
I
think.
that is possible, especially with how Buffalo's looking. And you kind of saw also they've been low key bulking up the defense in Buffalo for a couple years now because they made the trade to get Bowen Byram. You have Owen Power, you have Ramses Dahlin there, and dude, those three alone look like a juggernaut on that team. And Luke, I didn't know Luke Rainen had such a good season. He had 27 wins with that over 900 save percentage and a good 250 goals against average, like you said. So I was kind of shocked that they gave him this contract. I thought they would let him go, especially since you had a piece like Devin Levi in the goalie system. So honestly, that's instantly looking like the starter and the backup for the future. So, I mean, Buffalo, good signing. I think it was a good signing. And let's just hope to God you guys can get out of this slump because it's been too long. You guys have
It has been a minute.
it's been too long. It's been since the 2000s since you've been in the playoffs. So maybe it's time to turn around, boys. We need something from you. Your team looks young, hungry, and good. Just please, for the love of God, make it.
Yeah, it's time. I would be bandwagoning them if they do. So let's see.
Yeah. The Philadelphia Flyers have extended Travis Konechny for 8 years at $8.75 million. Wow, that's quite a deal. I think he deserves it, but that's quite a deal for the spot that I think Philly's in right now. T-Dog, I would like to hear your thoughts on Travis Konechny.
He was gonna be a flame. He was gonna be a flame. Consistent. 67 points last season. Or last season, the year prior was 77 into 77. Not bad for a team like Philadelphia.
No, not bad at all.
A right winger, a right shot too. It's a right shot.
Yeah.
In his prime now, man, he would look so good on a cup contending team.
So good.
But you know what? Philly slowly up there, slowly getting up there. So on this, Konechny is second wing. I guess they want to put Michkov on the top, but I'm excited to see what Philadelphia does this season.
I'm excited to see Michkov.
I do think that Philadelphia, you know what, they're getting close. They're getting close. Like they just have a lot of young talent. Tippett, Forrester, Frost. Couturier is getting older, but Michkov as well. Brink, Lawton, Farabee, Cates, Palin, Garnet, Hathaway. Dude, their entire forward grouping, besides a few, are young. This gotta be one of the youngest forward groupings in the league.
Oh, probably. I wouldn't be surprised.
Even their defense, Cam York is young. Sealer, Drysdale, Zamula. Their oldest guy would probably be Ristolainen, right? And then your goalies and Fedotov and Samuel Ersson, which actually do have some potential there, so that's nice.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what Philly does. You sign Konechny, that is a perfect signing to do because, one, he's got the leadership abilities.
Yeah.
That's nice. So you get a decent two-way forward on that puppy right there, and yeah, that's what you want. You want players like that in their prime. They're gonna help drag this team right out, and especially when if Philly does have a few crappy months. They can't afford to lose a few months of bad play because this team, if they're making it in, they're gonna have to make it as a seventh, eighth seed, right?
Yeah.
But a good signing overall. I think he's worth every bit of $8 million, and yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely say it was a great signing. I honestly, from what social media has told me, some people don't really like the idea that Travis Konechny wanted to stay in Philly. They thought they were going into a rebuilding situation, which probably wouldn't have suited him as he enters his prime years. But I mean, he got a career high of 68 points, like he said, almost point per game. So obviously, he deserves the money. I would definitely say I, as a Flyers fan, I would love it, but thinking logically of what the situation they're in right now is kind of a rebuild, which I mean, again, like you said, Philly last year before they lost Carter Hart looked like a playoff team. They were in a playoff spot most of the season, and then they lose Carter Hart over his situation, and now I think the only problem with Philly now is their goaltending because, like, yeah, they have some prospects in there right now, like good, I would say good goal. I mean, not even good goalies. I would say average goalies in there for sure, but there was no Carter Hart there anymore. And Carter Hart looked like he was finally getting that edge of becoming a really good goaltender until his situation happened. So I would say Philly, the only thing that scares me is goaltending, but this team looks young and hungry and they're exciting. They're exciting.
I still think for goalie prospects that Eriksson and Fedotov have potential, though.
Yeah, exactly.
I think, and then they got Felix Sandstrom too, right? So I think that's it's very much
Sorry, more like I gotta say they need time for their goalies to develop into the
yeah,
stars they
yeah,
are, more like because they don't
yeah.
have anyone right now anymore. That's my thing with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because imagine if Carter Hart was still, free and actually playing hockey. Imagine what this team could look like next year. As we're kind of switching topics here, Minnesota did something right for once, and
Yeah, this is
they gave
this
a
will be the
long-term deal to a guy that deserves it with a lot of money involved. His name is Brock Faber. If you haven't heard of him, he was probably second or third in Calder votes, right behind Bedard. But he gets 8 years for $68 million and 8 years. That's crazy.
honest to
Eight
goodness.
point
There's a
five.
part of me that thinks Faber probably should have got the Calder.
Hey, yeah,
I'm
honestly,
being serious, man. I mean, like Bedard is going to be an absolute stud superstar. This dude is going to be up there with Matthews,
yeah.
below McDavid. But yeah, Faber is exactly what this team needs. So take Kirill Kaprizov, underrated, right?
Yeah.
Now take Brock Faber. He's going to have the same thing. He's going to be underrated for as long as he's on the Wild, but man, that is a steal of a deal. I think Faber is going to be a player that we talk about, and he's going to be on calendars, things of that sort. So I think he's going to be that good.
Well, I mean,
Brock
and
Faber,
yeah.
47 points last season.
Wow.
22. Yeah. He's there's a lot of potential there. That's a high ceiling. And let me tell you, I really do think that this is a ceiling that's going to happen. Like, yeah, it's that's exciting.
They're kind of lucky they got this now out of the way because based on how he's looking, if his first season he's almost a 50-point player, and you wait and give him a short deal, and then he goes to 50 to 60 to 60, you're screwed, dude. He's going to ask for 10 to 11 mil. So 8 years and 8.5 is a really good deal for a 22-year-old, especially in this case.
Well, just think of the fact that this is a right shot defenseman, and he got 42 points in his pretty much his rookie season. In his rookie season.
I mean, if we're really talking about guys we have seen that from recently, I would say Cale Makar and Sider, but still, they keep popping up everywhere. Those 40-point out of nowhere defensemen right now. So you gotta love it, though.
That is, yeah, wow. That is crazy.
On a Minnesota team too, that wasn't like that wasn't bad this year for say. They looked like they could have been a wild card team, but they just missed it by a few points. But that's a really good sign for Minnesota, especially from coming from such a young guy.
Yeah, yeah. I find with Faber, like, or not Faber, just with Minnesota, there's such a like you want to bet on them, but like every time it's not. It's they're stuck in the mucky middle. They're like the Flames. Just it's been mediocrity forever. But at least we have a cup. So, ladies and gentlemen, Flames fans of all ages, it's here. He is here. Dustin Wolf
Let's
is here.
go!
2 years, $850K a year, prove it deal. It's time. Vladar and Wolf tandem. I like it. Listen, I was saying before Markstrom. Okay, I was very because at first I was like, let's do Vladar Wolf tandem. Then I'm like, well, Markstrom, right? Like he could be a good leader. Doesn't matter anymore. He's gone. He wanted out, like every other player.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for Wolf. He seems to take in the city well, like as a player who's plays with the Wranglers and stuff. So that to me gives me a lot of confidence, and I'm really excited to see. Like, there's not much to me that's intriguing for me to go watch a game for say this season. Like, I'm going to watch the game, sorry, but I mean like paying a ticket to watch it live, right? I'm more or less doing that now so I can go watch other teams play. That's why. But now that you have some young guns into the lineup, plus you have Wolf, I'm excited to see what Wolf does. I'm gonna watch him closely because I think he's gonna be the real deal, man. I'm excited. I am very excited. He's done so much. He's done all he can do in the AHL besides win that the Calder Cup there. But listen, who cares, man? It ain't no Stanley Cup. He's proven it in every league except for the NHL. So now he can get his shot. What do you think about it?
Yeah, actually, as you mentioned that, as he's basically done everything in each league he's been in, have you seen the awards he's gotten in each league he's been in? In the WHL, he was like top goalie of the year 2 times in a row. In the AHL, he became top goalie of the year twice. He won the MVP of the league last year, and he's gotten a few games under his belt with Calgary alone. He played 17 games last year with us, coming up and down from the AHL to the NHL. He was 7-7. He has a goals against average of 3.15, which isn't great, but I mean, not bad for a rookie year. And he just is under a 900 save percentage. So not bad, but we did get to at least have a look at what he is to an NHL level. And he looks like he can adapt quick. He looks like he is ready for that next step, which is really exciting. And honestly, I thought we were going to get a way bigger deal from him, but a prove it deal might be really good for him right now just to prove how much he is worth down the line. But I'm happy. We got him signed.
Yeah, set it for Wolf. But let's move over to the east side of Canada and go to Montreal. Justin Barron and Arbor Jacka, I get some signing there. Great story Arbor Jacka is, by the way. Justin Barron gets a deal of 2 years, 1.15 per year, and Jacka gets 2 years, 1.3 mil. Montreal. Let's talk about the other signing too. Let's do it.
Yep.
Trade for Patrick Laine. So,
that is not what I thought you were going to say too. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, so let's look at Montreal here. Another team that you wonder, it feels like it's been a while. Is something going to happen? It might be a slow process, but I'm starting to really like this. I'll look at the defense because of those signings, but, Jacka and Barron are your bottom pair. Then you have Hudson and Savard, Matheson, Gooley. So young, kind of like St. Louis. They're kind of like St. Louis, kind of.
Maybe a little bit better than St. Louis. I guess much prefer Montreal's situation over than St.
Yes, you're right, because you don't have to pay Krug, and that's correct. Okay, fair. But then look at your forward grouping. So a Slavkovsky that looks like he's actually breaking out now with Suzuki and Caulfield. Hopefully Doc is not going to be injury prone, but playing with Laine and Newhook, Joshua Roy, Christian Dvorak, Josh Anderson, Gallagher, Evans, and Armia. With goalies,
be a dogfight in the Atlantic, dude. I'm telling you, it's going to be an absolute fight with every team in there that make playoffs.
And I like Montembeault. I think Montembeault as a goalie is actually pretty solid. I think he can put up some good numbers.
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, I don't mind the signings that Montreal did to the defense especially with that grinder guy on the fence too that they just signed. I love him. I think Montreal loves him, so that's good for him to get re-signed to that kind of deal. Same with Barrow in that sense too. Then they also did sign Caden Galan to a 6-year deal worth $5.5 million in the last two seasons. So he's 22 years old. In the last two seasons with Montreal, 44 games played, 18 points. This year, 70 games played, but 22 points. So he's a good, productive defenseman, I would say. He's probably more two-way than I would think at the moment. 6'2" at 22 years old. He's solid. He's very solid defenseman, which we haven't seen out of Montreal in quite a bit of time. But what I've noticed with Montreal is they're building up young guys into the lineup. And you look at this whole team and you could say they make playoffs. You really could. If goaltending, I think, goes right, if Line A finds that edge that he used to have in Winnipeg, I think it lines up perfectly. I really do.
It would be so nice to see Line A get back to form.
Yeah.
It'd be so cool. I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for him. He's a player that does well. I get a Habs jersey. 92 is kind of cool. I had the opposite of 29.
Yeah, I
I
thought
like
that
that
was
number.
funny. Well, because even if we just talk, let's talk about the Patrick Laine trade in general, because he had some rough years with Columbus, and I made a video a while back on this trade, and I thought it was bonkers that Columbus only gave up him in a second for Jordan Harris. And I was like, you guys are absolute nuts for this trade, because it wasn't even that good of there could have been way better prospects you could have picked up from Montreal personally, other than Jordan Harris. But at the same time, Laine has been in such a weird situation over the last few years, so his value has dropped. So like last year, he only put up, I believe, 30 to 40. And then I believe he was injured and involved in a lot of mental issues that he had to step away. So I think his value dropped so much they had to get rid of him with a second to be able to get rid of him. So because he has a hefty contract. I think that is the biggest issue right now.
Yeah, that's why, right? They needed to move it, and so
yeah,
not many pieces out. But so, I mean, Montreal can take that, right? They can take the blow.
Yeah, exactly.
And Montreal is a place we might as well see if you can kind of resurge your career there. So I'm really rooting for Laine. I really am. So, all right, Oliver Shillington. I want to talk about this one. It is it. Listen, I'm upset about it because it's like this, bro. You don't go to work, and then you don't go to work, and then the boss pays you for all of it, whatever your inconvenience, and then you come back, and then you just leave. It's like all the favors we did for you. I think you wanted a term. And I think what it was, yeah, it's exactly. I think you wanted term, buddy. You're not getting term. I guess it's just me. You're not getting term.
Yeah. Based on
That's
how
why you got a 1 year.
I mean, based on how the whole situation kind of looks, we were loyal to him. The Flames were such a loyal organization to him and helped him deal with his stuff that he dealt with outside of the game. And then he only came in for a few games and he looked actually not that bad, in my opinion. But then we go to the offseason, he needs a new contract. And it sounds like he was asking for quite a bit. And the Flames couldn't understand it because they were giving him kind of a break. And then you hear he gets signed to Colorado only for $1 million for a year. And that kind of showed me that he wanted more from us. And we just said no to him after everything we did. And he tried to explore the market for that, but he couldn't find anything. So he went to Colorado for $1 million. So what? I've already said that I wasn't a fan of the whole situation that he kind of got himself into with us, but oh well, he moved on finally.
Move on. I'm kind of numb to this now. Like these players just not wanting to play here and stuff, and it's just stupid. It's like you're just taking advantage of it. But whatever. Listen, you get out the old culture, bring in the new. That's why another reason why I'm excited for the youth, because you're bringing in new culture. Look how much fun Pelche and Zari and Pospisil have. Matty Beniers gets a good contract.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, it is a good contract. 7 years, 7.1 a year there.
Matty Beniers has played 3 seasons with the Seattle Kraken as he was drafted by them, which makes kind of sense. So, in his first season, he played 10 games with them and went point per game, basically. In his second season, he had 80 games played and put up 57 points, which was a big year for him. This year was a little bit of a down year, 77 games played with 37 points, which didn't look great on him, sadly enough. But, however, with how he's aging and what he can produce on the ice, gives him a big ass contract for over 7 mil for 7 years. So, honestly, I think it's a great contract. I think he will produce to be a 60 to 70 point player at lowest production, I would personally say. But I like the contract. I think he is going to be the franchise guy for Seattle,
Yeah.
and that's what he is intended to be. Hopefully, Shane Wright comes up right behind him, so you have a 1-2 knockout with those two guys. But yeah, I'm happy with the contract.
Yeah. When Jerry McCann's gone, Beniers will be the guy you put jerseys on the back of.
Oh yeah,
a whole bunch of potential, and he's a skilled player. He's exciting to watch. So you know what I mean, like Seattle. I wouldn't say they have too many players that you're kind of like, oh, I really want to watch this team for this. But Beniers is someone you look at.
Yeah.
You're kind of like, oh, yeah. So it's a good signing in all overall. And hey, man, already of what he is right now, first line center, good for him, man.
Yeah,
I think it only can go up from there, right? So that's how I see it. So let's see what Seattle does this season. I'm curious and I'm excited. Nashville. So Skarov wants some playing time. Kind of hard when you have UC Saros, right? Makes sense. So a trade occurs in San Jose. Mike Greer on the block. He about to just cop a goalie. And he did. Yaroslav Skarov going to San Jose with Nolan Burke and a 2025 third. In exchange, Nashville gets Magnus Krona, David Edstrom, and a 25 first round pick. San Jose now has a potential elite goalie. That's awesome. So that's good. San Jose, needs some wins here. They're getting wins. Him, Celebrini, right?
Yeah.
Who else do they pick in the 10 there?
Oh, I think they picked Sam Dickinson.
Dickinson, yes, of course, right? So as we look at Seattle, San Jose, my
the rebuild's looking good. That's what
it's looking decent. It was weird. It was you're gonna have a few of these odd seasons, but yeah, if you can take wins like this, like Celebrini could be such a good player. So yeah, I'm liking the rebuild.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say about it.
Well, because I think honestly this was a great trade in San Jose's eyes, because obviously since the extension of Saros, Askarov wasn't going to sit another year in the AHL because he looks ready for the NHL. As of last year in the AHL, he had 44 games played, had a goals against average of 2.39 and a save percentage of 911. So he looked ready, and he played 2 games with Nashville last year, and he came up with a save percentage of 9.43 and a goals against average of 1.47. So, hearing that he was on the trade block, San Jose was looking for a prospect goalie, and Askarov filled in basically everything they wanted. A goalie who wanted minutes in the NHL, and just to someone to back up Blackwood, I'm assuming, because they had to give up a first round pick, but it was Vegas's, so the pick realistically didn't matter. The only thing I had an issue with was on Nashville's side of this, as I'm kind of surprised that they didn't go for veteran guys or anyone that could really help them during, in the depth at least, because they gave up Cody Glass, and that's your third line center. So you're kind of struggling a little bit in the bottom 9 with depth, I would say, in Nashville's case. But, David Edstrom is a good center prospect for sure, but I was really expecting you guys to kind of build up on the lower depth for sure in the forwards, but I can't hate the trade, especially for San Jose. I think San Jose won it because they got their goalie of the future from it, but, Nashville had to get rid of him, so this was not a bad trade to just get a first round pick and a solid center prospect still. So I would say San Jose won the trade. Nashville, you could have done better.
So, as a Canadian there, buddy, what do you think about Ruger McGroarty?
Oh, I bet Winnipeg has some very naughty words for this individual. He just put on their jersey that night and was like, a Winnipeg Jets jersey just doesn't feel right, apparently. So something happened. Something happened with a prospect and another prospect getting traded, if I'm correct, with the jersey you're wearing.
Yeah, so Ruger McGroarty didn't want to play for Winnipeg, so there's a trade. It was just funny because Brady Yeager did get signed by Pittsburgh, and then now they swap. So Yeager goes to Winnipeg. He's a Canadian boy, so he'll probably stay. And Pittsburgh gets McGroarty. Now, did you see McGroarty's interview, Brusser?
No, I don't think I did, if we're thinking of the exact
So he gave a presser, and from how I interpreted it, was like, he didn't really... How to explain it? He didn't really give a good answer as to why it happened, but I think the idea is, I just think he just didn't want to go there, and sure enough, gets his way, and he goes to Pittsburgh. So yeah, Jets fans don't like him. But
I believe that. I can understand why they are frustrated, because this actually isn't the first time we've seen this year, because if I'm correct, Cutter Gauthier said the same thing about the Flyers, got himself traded out of Philly to go to Anaheim. So it's not the first time we've seen it. But if we just kind of compare both prospects with stats as of right now, we look at McGrattan in his last year with the University of Michigan. He played 36 games and put up 52 points, which is actually really impressive when you put it on. And then with Brady Yeager, who Winnipeg got, he's been with the Moose Jaw Warriors for the last 4 years. And this last year, he played 57 games and was able to put up 95 points with 35 goals and 60 assists.
Yeah, I knew he had high upside, and I knew that he was crushing the dub.
Yeah.
Holy moly, but he was crushing the dub.
Well, I know. That's why I mean. And he already had a really great year with 67 games played and only put up 78 points. So he actually got better. So that if I'm Winnipeg, I'm not that mad about the prospect you got in return. It's just you really hate to be in a situation where a guy doesn't want to play for your organization like that. Like, that really just sucks on either way, because he apparently didn't feel right in the jersey.
So, okay, here we go. I'm looking at the Jets Reddit, and this is the quote on his trade request. He says, I feel like I'm going to get what I deserve, and I'm going to come ready to work for camp. They're talking about, like, prospect camp or whatever. I like where my game's at right now. I'm excited to get to camp, and hopefully in the trade... Hold on. It was asked about it, why I wouldn't sign. He said, I wanted to be upfront and honest with them, and just tell them I wasn't going to be signing with them. I've got nothing but respect for those guys. They handle it with a lot of class, and I wish them nothing but the best. But as I said, I'm fired up to get started. So, like the typical athlete answer, right?
He doesn't really answer the question, but
avoid the question. I mean, I'm gonna guess he just doesn't want to go to Winnipeg, which, whatever, bro. I mean,
who wants to go to Winnipeg?
Whatever. I mean, Pennsylvania. Is Pennsylvania nice? Like, I heard
fans are nuts. Like, nothing against Winnipeg fans. They're nuts. I love how nuts they are for the game. Just it cold. Hey guys, and that has been the end of the episode of Puck and Stuff Podcast. Free agent frenzy just basically is wrapping up. We are getting closer to October. We are super excited for the NHL season to come back. We still we have some predictions to still do down the line, but we are back doing this regularly again. So if you enjoyed it, please leave a like, a comment, and please subscribe. We are almost at 500 on YouTube. We're doing so well on our other channels as well. So we love to support you guys. Give, and T-Dog, we'll wrap this up.
Like B-Dog said, thank you very much for listening, watching, however you are consuming this podcast. If you did like it, smash the like button below. Leave a comment down, comment question of the day. What is the best signing or trade that we have discussed in this video? Are you guys excited? What team that's kind of in the mucky mill, or kind of an F tier team? Who's up and coming? Who do you think's gonna kind of make a big splash this season? I guess we'll find out. A month away till the regular season. That's crazy. It's time flies. Yeah. I guess again, rest in peace to Johnny and Matthew Gaudreau. Still, just that's sad, man. Like I don't know, I've been thinking about it ever since it's happened. It's tough not to think about it, but yeah, may they rest in peace, and just pray that their family can recover well.
Definitely.
And hey, next podcast it'll be a little more upbeat there, so something to look forward to. Anyways, guys, thank you very much for listening and watching, and we will see you guys in the next one. Eat your veggies, baby.
Peace.
Peace.